Well, hello. Today's movie is the 1977 war movie, A Bridge Too Far. It is September 1944 and the German army is in full retreat. Field Marshal Montgomery comes up with a bold plan to end the war. Operation Market Garden involves the largest airborne drop in history. Two American and a British division with a Polish brigade will drop and secure three bridges in Holland. The British 30th Corps will then race up a road 64 miles and link up with the airborne troops. A bridgehead over the Rhine will then allow the Allies to take the Ruhr Valley and end the war before Christmas. The British 30th Corps though has a hard fight along this single road, with plenty of ambushes. The British Airborne Division faces little opposition at first and easily defeats a SS Recon Company. The first bridge at Eindhoven is destroyed and critical time is lost in installing a Bailey Bridge. The second bridge is taken by a daring cross river assault by the 82nd Airborne Division. Meanwhile, the British 1st Airborne, which had no communications and saw their supplies being dropped to the Germans, eventually succumbed to the superior forces of two SS Panzer divisions. It ends in defeat, with the British airborne survivors withdrawing from Arnhem. So this movie is based on a real-life battle in the Second World War called Operation Market Garden. Market was the airborne drop and Garden was the ground offensive. And this film was based on a book by Ryan Cornelius, who also wrote the book that the movie Longest Day was based on. And like that movie, this one is, just chock full of big name stars. Sean Connery, Ryan O'Neal, Gene Hackman, there's Robert Redford, Elliot Gould. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. And it was actually filmed in the Netherlands. Now, let me talk to you about this battle. If you go back, when they were doing the D-Day invasion, all the Allied commanders realized how important this was, and they actually put aside all their egos and that and worked together. And they had a stunning victory after Operation Cobra broke out. It shattered the Wehrmacht and basically forced them to retreat to the German border, to the Siegfried Line, where they kind of refortified that. And during this time, then the Allies kind of thought, well, this war's basically over, and they were just driving, and all the cooperation kind of just evaporated. And the two main armies were Patton in the south and Montgomery in the north. And both these generals absolutely hated each other. But the main problem then was supply, because the Germans basically destroyed all the channel ports and it would be months for them to get operational. So they had to pass all the supplies right off on the beach and transport them up, and there was just a limited amount of supplies. So one army was not going to get fully supplied. And Montgomery came up with a plan so he could be getting supplies. And it was a daring plan, but one that promised to end the war by Christmas. And it involved an airdrop of three divisions to capture three key bridges in the Netherlands. And then Armored Corps would race up this road, link up with them. They would have a bridgehead over the Rhine, and they could swoop down and take the Ruhr Valley, which was the industrial heartland of Germany. and then the war would be over real quick. But as you know, they did this plan. There was a lot of problems. It was 64 miles. They had to go up the road, which it doesn't seem too long. If you're driving it like in a modern day, it takes less than an hour. But when you're trying to fight through constant ambushes, it can be quite slow. So instead of 2 days, it dragged on for about 10 days, and they did manage to take the first two bridges, and but they couldn't take the third bridge. And yeah, so then they kind of claimed, well, it's a 90% success, which might be true, but the reality was, without Arnhem, the mission basically was worthless. The 90% that they did capture, and throughout the whole war, then they just had this kind of sliver of land that they had to constantly defend against. Arnhem wasn't liberated until April 1945, literally just weeks before the war ended. And as also a consequence, Arnhem was flattened completely. All the civilians were refugees, and the Germans kind of punished the Dutch by withholding food. So there was like 16,000 after this that died of famine. So on the grand scheme of things, this was a failure. I think it's a glorious failure, though. The Allied troops, in spite of these operational insufficiencies, really performed well, and that's kind of a reason that the making of documentary said that the Oscar and the American critics kind of shunned it, was because it exposed these operational deficiencies of the Allies. Although the BAFTAs did give them some nominations, and they even won some awards. The movie itself was a success. I guess it had a $25 million budget, and it made $50 million. It was the sixth most popular movie in 1977. There's a lot of realism in this, I know, because they also were able to get a lot of surplus World War II equipment at the time, because Greece and Turkey were kind of unloading their supply of it, their militaries. And and it was filmed in Holland, right where the battles take place. And I think this is a powerful movie. It's one of my favorite war movies. I remember watching it as a kid on HBO and loving it. And it still holds up very well today. There's some very powerful scenes in this. I think the movie did a really great job of showing what happens to civilians in this. I think there was when the British occupy Arnhem, they just kind of like go into people's houses and say, yeah, we need your house, and then they start smashing windows and holding furniture, and the residents, well, they can just they can help if they want, or just go hide in the basement or get out of the way or whatever. They didn't care. They were just completely ignored. And that's what happens, I suppose, to civilians in real wars. They're just kind of caught in between. They have no say in anything. And like there's a scene where I thought was very powerful as a kid watching was, they took over a house for the wounded, and one of the wounded guys just kind of stomps over this kid's little electric train and bleeds all over the carpet, and like, wow, there's someone's home. That's what happens. And there's also these powerful scenes like the Robert Redford character when he was crossing the river in an assault. He was always saying, "Hail Mary, full of grace, Hail Mary, full of grace," which I thought was a really interesting idea. Someone would say that. I mean, I think there's no atheists in combat. And this is definitely a great movie. I love it. It's one of the best war movies ever. If you want a good, historically accurate World War II movie, I would definitely recommend this. So, if you're still with me, well, thanks a lot. You're a unique individual.